Now for some insight, the head coach of the Arizona Wildcats is with us tonight on the phone. Adia Barnes, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thanks.
So the last time Arizona and Stanford played, when they were both ranked in the top 15, you were actually still rocking the Wildcat jersey. What do you remember about that game in '98?
Well, it's been so long. We're talking decades, you know. But I just remember that was the only time that I beat Stanford as a player. And it was an amazing shot, like Reese Bristol hit a shot from beyond half court. I don't exactly remember where it was, and we just dogpiled her. But that was the only time, unfortunately, that we beat Stanford.
Well, it was a big win, and obviously one that still sticks with you just a few years later. It wasn't that long ago. '98 wasn't that long
just
ago.
A few.
But yeah, obviously a big one coming up on Friday. Before we get into your matchup this year with Stanford, I want to ask you, Cate Reese, she was a subject on an Our Stories feature that debuted earlier tonight. The fact that she's one of the top players in the league and has type 1 diabetes is remarkable and was the focus of that story. But watching your press conference earlier today, we learned that she had a pretty scary weekend and was hospitalized twice. So I just want to know how she's feeling today and also how your team dealt with all of that.
Well, there was just a lot of adversity. We didn't talk about it a lot just because we don't make excuses, but we were missing, one of our best players, Ari, and then her numbers just were, off the roof. And so rushed her to the hospital Thursday night, played Friday. We weren't sure if she was going to be able to play, but she played. And then same thing, we traveled to Boulder. Same thing happened on Saturday. So I think it was just scary for her because it's never happened to her. Her diabetes are very well controlled and managed. And, I think there was a combination of the flu going around on our team. She could have been playing the flu. No one really knows why, but she's all good now. And sent her to the endocrinologist, and everything's okay. But, she's a kid, so it's just scary.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I'm glad to hear she's doing okay. And obviously when you know everything going on behind the scenes, it feels like the fact that you guys got a split on that road trip seems pretty impressive. And you mentioned Ari. I know fans are relieved to hear that she's expected to be back this weekend. What can you tell us about kind of where she's at, maybe physically and mentally, heading into this really critical month of the season?
Well, there wasn't really going to be a good time to rest her, but that was the best time, if any, where I thought that we can go and compete. Either way. And, unfortunately, we got a split, but also fortunately because we're very different without Ari on the offensive and defensive end. But I think that the main thing was getting her healthy. We have a lot of basketball ahead, and the rest was really important for her because she was pretty banged up. But she's fine. She's back practicing. She'll play this weekend and from now on. But, it's kind of that time in the season. You're seeing it with a lot of Pac-12 teams, Oregon State, Stanford. It's just the time where injuries do happen.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I also did see that she's going to be taking part in your Senior Day ceremony on Sunday, and I think before fans get too riled up about that, it's probably helpful to put some context around that as well. And so I guess the question is, has she made any final decisions about declaring for the draft?
No, not at all. But, the thing is, she's always planned to walk because it was really important for her to walk with her teammates. And she sat out of the year with T.T. Starks, Dominique McBride. She's very close to Amari Carter. So for them to have that bond was important, but it was something that was planned the entire year, so it wasn't changed. TT did the same thing last year. So, for us, it's just that wasn't something we've really talked a lot about. She still has a lot of time to make her decision. It's nothing definite right now, and, hopefully we're hoping she comes back, but, she has to make that decision for herself.
What is your advice to her in that process, Coach?
My advice is to stay. I think the best decision is to stay for a lot of reasons. I think that some of the top players in the country are in our conference. Sabrina obviously being one of them, Satu, Michaela Pivic. And I think that if Ari stayed, she is by far one of the top guards in the Pac-12 and in the country. And I think her stock just goes higher. And I think that what Sabrina decided to do is stay another year, try to go to the Final Four, win a championship. I think it was the smartest thing she could have done because she got better. She's leading her team, and her stock is even higher. So I think it's always better to stay. Now, different situation if you're in the NBA and it's a difference of $10 million. Right. Then I would say, Eric, go ahead and you buy me dinner next time I see you. But we're in college. We're talking about a rookie in the WNBA gets $68,000. So the higher you're drafted, the more money you make marketing. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense. I think players should stay and grow and get better because they don't understand what the pro life is like until they're a pro. And I've been there, and I was a pro for 13 years. So I just think it's better to stay and get better.
Yeah, and you certainly have that perspective that I'm sure is helpful for her as well as she goes forward and makes that decision. I'm hoping that you can give me sort of the 10,000-foot view for this last question, Coach. In your mind, the biggest conference storyline heading into the Pac-12 tournament this year in Vegas is what?
The biggest conference storyline. Oh, that's a tough one. I think just all the parity in our conference. I think that no one expected, Oregon State to have injuries. I think no one expected Stanford to be down a couple. And I think the team that everybody's hunting for is Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
Oregon went to the Final Four. They are playing their best basketball right now. So they are the team to beat. And I'm sure multiple teams don't want to be in that fourth spot because that third spot will avoid them for a little while. And I think that's the reality that no one likes to talk about. But I also know that the Pac-12 tournament is a different level of competitiveness and competition. And I think that people rise to the occasion. I think you'll see a lot of upsets this year.
Yeah, well, we are looking forward to
that. Last week on Sunday.
Yeah, no doubt about it. 3 ranked teams went down, to include your Arizona Wildcats. I do want to say thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. We're excited to see what your squad has in store for the month of March. Arizona and Stanford, 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 o'clock local time on the Pac-12 Network Friday night. Can't wait. Adia, thanks so much.
Thank you.